r/AskReddit. Millennials, what is one thing that the rest of us just don't understand? That the average millennial is 30 years old, not a teen bopper or college kid. This one bugs me the most. It seems like people always associate millennials with young kids. I'm a grown-ass man, I just want someone to watch me be like any normal person. Wait, what? Yeah, teens are Gen Z. What comes after Z? Generation. Now I said my ABCs. Next time won't you sing with me, Dart? We start using the Greek alphabet. So after Z comes alpha, then beta, then gamma, etc. Most people don't know the age of millennials. To them, a millennial is someone that they hate and happens to be younger than them. Can confirm. I saw a lady on Facebook who essentially trashed millennials in one paragraph and in the next bragged about her daughter being in a high-level position at her company and working very hard after finishing college. She was convinced her daughter wasn't a millennial, even when people showed her the ranges. The discussion devolved into an argument about what the year range was. This sounds like my mother who thinks baby boomers are only those who are rich. I try to explain that baby boomer is the name of a whole generation, and that she is 1 year off being one, and she doesn't have a bar of it. Well, shut. Born 1 year too late to be rich. Sorry to hear. Ever been to a professional sporting event and groaned at the price of admission, concessions, and even water? It's been kind of like living an entire life inside of that stadium. You deserve gold, but this thread is full of millennials and no one's got the cash. Whoop. Looks like they're already got themselves a sugar daddy since your comment. Wait a minute, sugar daddies are the answer. Ms. Word is not a fucking design program and shouldn't be used as one. Also, PowerPoint is also not a design program. And if you're going to use PowerPoint as a design program, please at least export it as a PDF. If you are designing a figure, say for a technical document, and it's going to some other non-techie person to actually draw it up, PowerPoint is a godsend. I use PowerPoint to make memes. How to rotate a goddamn PDF. Control-Shift+. Okay, I'm 37 and I didn't know this. I thought Control+ is to zoom in. Why it is that most of the older generation, and some millennials, can have something called a cell phone in their pocket and decide to never take a minute to fact check something that sounds suspicious. When I was going through school, computers were just starting to become a standard part of education. What we were taught about the internet was to be always cautious. For example, never use your real name, never meet someone from the internet, and to always be suspicious. Never trust a single website. Trace your source to the origin. Find a book to confirm if you can. My mother grew up without the internet at all. She held a programming job where computer time had to be booked a week ahead. Everything she learned growing up was from supposedly trusted individuals, such as teachers. It's still hard to disabuse her of misconceptions taught to her in primary school in a third world country. Now she's a full-on conspiracy theorist, and I can't help but wonder how many people like her are where they are because they grew up without being taught to be skeptical of their sources, because they grew up in time and place where they didn't have to be. Every time you bash millennials for taking participation ribbons, remember who came up with that stupid ducking idea. Here is a clue, it wasn't us. What were we supposed to do? Hi, I'm 10 years old, and I reject your participation trophy because if you're not first you're last. Nah, I just said yay, chess tournaments are fun. Oh, I get a trophy? Okay, whatever you say, I just want to play more chess. When people who grew into adulthood in the 2000s and 2010s ignore your economic career advice, it's not because we're snotty or ungrateful or don't value your opinion. It's because the economy is so different that advice which may have been good in the 50s 80s is not likely to still be good. Just walk right in and ask to talk to the CEO and say I want a job. I would die laughing if someone told me to do this. And so would the CEO. I'm the oldest millennial. I have worked ridiculously hard, with no end in sight, to make the same money my dad, with no degree or specialized training, made and makes to this day. I actually earn more than my dad does today. I can't buy his house at its current price, though, whereas he did it on a single income. He started a new business, while supporting a wife and eventually 2, children. I'm single. Not that this matters, because my job is hundreds of miles from his house. I can't afford houses here either. That it's hard, even in my early 30s with a good full-time job, to afford rent and food and everything else. I wish I had been born in a time where working a job like I have now would pay for a 3-bedroom house and 2 cars. No, I'm not lazy. I just don't think I should have to work 2 full-time jobs just to survive. The whole I had my house paid by the time I was 25 from old people. Houses cost a whole lot less then, Barbara. Labor jobs are not shameful and you can actually earn good money doing it. Trades are dying because we were told to go to college and then get a desk job because it's better than what mom or dad does now. I make more money now as a 23-year-old millennial in a labor job than my parents made combined when I was growing up. But they had a large 2-story house in the burbs when I grew up, and now that I make such good money they can't fathom how I still can't afford to get my own house, or why I still have to drive an old beat up truck rather than have a newer vehicle and park out in a garage of a nice house. Probably because y'all fucked the housing market and economy so bad that making $80,000 a year I still can barely afford to support my wife, who also works, and son, the freeloading 2-year-old that just refuses to get a job geez. That most of us have actually done customer service jobs our whole life, and when people talk about how millennials and the younger generations are all about instant gratification, each and every one of us has vivid memories of old fucking dirtbags throwing goddamn tantrums because they didn't get their way right that very moment. Old people have absolutely no patience for anything. Younger people typically have more manners. And yes, I get the fact that not all boomers are like this. And not all millennials are nice well-mannered saints. The only thing a millennial might find more annoying than a boomer is another millennial, since self-hatred is kind of our jam. But it's the media that presents one side on a more favorable light versus the other, so let us younger schmucks have our opportunity to vent. Read somewhere once that if you ask an older person for help and thank them, they'll say you're welcome. If you ask a younger generation and thank them, they'll usually say it's okay, or don't mention it. This is cause the older generation considers it a favor from them to you and you should be thankful, while the younger generation... That's interesting. Once had a boomer thank me for something trivial, don't recall what, and she scolded me for applying with no problem. I said no problem at my old job, and my boss at the time told me that by saying that I'm implying there could potentially be a problem asking me for something. I was really confused. It's not that deep. The whole just go get a better job put out for a promotion line of thought. A lot of the time we just can't do that, and one particularly annoying part of it is because you are still sitting at the top. In my profession there is very little to no upward movement. The median age for a full-time teacher where I've worked is in the late 50s, early 60s. Nothing against them, as sometimes they can have brilliant ideas, techniques. But it's frustrating to look at the job ladder and see no one going up because people can't get off, and you can't get on. Older generations, find what you love to do and do it. Also older generations, no, don't do that, you can't make a living off that. You have to wait till I'm done before you can have a job, and I totally forgot to save for retirement, lol. That we aren't children. We aren't 15-year-old kids eating tidpods, the less than 2 dozen that did that. We are college graduates, trade school grads, union workers, and every other slice of the workforce. We have trades, kids, experience, and retirement plans. Not as many as should, but the economy the boomers left us is what we have to work with. We aren't stupid kids or out of touch hippies going to college to get degrees in mermaids and avocado toast. We are, it seems, the only damn grown-ups in the US half the time, and it is exasperating that so many people seem to believe otherwise. The economy is growing but our paychecks are not. Economists will tell you that wages generally increase with productivity, that you're paid in line with the value of what you do. We may very well be the first overeducated generation in the history of this country. Most of us have college degrees, and very sizable portion of us have graduate degrees too. We have these because we basically have to in order to even have the chance of making enough money for a comfortable life as adults. We are a little pissed off because we all grew up being told that if you do okay in high school and go to college, You'll be able to get a job that'll pay you well enough to live the life you want to live. Then, we did those things, and when we got to the other end of it, it was all basically jerked away. That nearly every place you apply wants you to do it online. No, going in will not help you get your foot in the door. More often than not, it's just going to annoy them. Also super annoying when people don't believe you about this, so they go in and ask for an application and are told to apply online. Like, I legit could have told you this would happen. I was at Target, working behind the counter at the customer service desk, saw a guy walk in and insist on applying in person. They found him a physical application, and once he left they threw it in the trash. That was one of the managers who did that, by the way. Update. For clarification, he walked in, asked for a physical copy, said he couldn't put in online because he didn't have a computer, the network for the store was down, he was friendly, shook hands, and had decent qualifications. They didn't care. You can't pause a raid in Warcraft, okay? You just cannot. I had the best petty revenge on this. My mom was obsessed with some Facebook game. When she did the match puzzle, she couldn't pause it and was only given 2 minutes. I would bug her relentlessly when I knew she was playing and would say, "Why don't you pause the game?" She laughed at it when she figured out I was doing what she used to do to me.